And assalamu alaikum, everybody. I pray that you guys are very, very well and in the best of health. A very warm welcome to episode 7 of the Arabic with Sam podcast. In this episode, we're going to be going over my top 10 favourite verbs in the Arabic language, and verbs are kind of the topic of this week. You know, pretty much all of the content that's coming out this week, other than my literature walkthrough, which goes out on the YouTube channel on Wednesdays. Other than that, pretty much everything is on verbs. I've noticed that students going through my program and students who I teach privately as well, verbs pose a lot of issues, and they also open a lot of really cool opportunities. So that's what we're going to be going over this week, inshallah. I think it'd be a nice kind of strategy for my content and for the free stuff that I'm putting out for you guys to have like a topic every week, have like sort of one sort of thing that we're going over in that week, and then that's what you can expect from my Instagram feed. That's what you can expect in my my YouTube content. That's what you can expect in the discussions on my Facebook page, and obviously in my podcast too. And I think that'll help me a lot to put out more content and for it to be more focused. This lesson, this podcast, will be accompanied by a little free worksheet that you guys can print as well. If you go over to the Arabic with Sam website and click on the free stuff tab, or you can just type in arabicwithsam.com/free stuff, and there's loads of free stuff. As you'd expect there to be with a domain name like arabicwithsam.com/free stuff, FREE stuff, STUFF, free stuff. Very good. So let's get into it then, inshallah. There's no kind of announcements, there's no shout outs, there's nothing like that to do. It's all about you guys today, so we're going to get stuck into it. So the first of my top 10 favourite verbs is a verb which is samara. Samara, sin, mim, and ra, all with fathas along the top, samara. And its meaning is that it's obviously a normal kind of standard form 1 verb, and its meaning is to chat or to tell stories into the night. And one of the reasons why this is one of my favourite verbs is, firstly, because it's so specific. Like, Arabic, whereas in English we have the verb to tell stories, and then we add specific stuff using nouns and nouns and prepositions and stuff afterwards. In Arabic, you'll just have all of those meanings all kind of squished into one verb, which just makes it so economical. Like it just makes it so precise, and firstly, that's something that I really like about it. That it's specifically about telling stories or chatting in like a group, and then it's specifically in the night. And then also from this root, some of the names of the people who are the most beloved to me come from this root. So we have the name Samir, the boy's name Samir, and the woman's name Samira as well come from this root too. And they're two just very beautiful names. And I'd noticed that I've met or I've known of quite a lot of black people who have the name Samir if they're boys, or Samira of girls. A lot of like Somalis and Sudanese and and West Africans as well have the name Samir and Samira, as well as the girls also having the name Sauda as well, which is obviously the feminine of the word eswed, meaning black as well. And I never really understood it until obviously the term Samir or Samira, obviously it has the connotation of being black like the night, and as well that's why in the Egyptian dialect of Arabic they say asmar for the word black. They don't say aswed. They don't say aswed in Egypt. They say asmar, and it comes from that same root. So that kind of linked a lot of things up for me, and so that's one of my favourite roots. I've not heard it used very often, and maybe only a couple of times in my life when I've actually seen it used in Arabic literature or seen it or heard people say it. But you would apply it, if you were to say something like, the girl told stories in the night, you just say Samarat al-bintu. Samarat al-bint, the girl told stories in the night, or, Samartu, I told stories in the night, or Kuntu asmaru. Kuntu asmar. I used to tell stories in the night, or I used to chat in the night. So it's just used like that, just how you would expect it to be. The second verb of my favourite verbs, this is ranked number 2, is a verb. It's so modern and it's so recent, and just because I see opportunity, just because I see opportunity to create a lot of different, I see opportunity to create a lot of different new and modern verbs from it, like. So the verb, I'll give you the verb, okay? So it's the verb fesfesa. Fesfesa. So we call it a quadriliteral root, or we call it ruba'i in Arabic. Verbs that have 4 letters in their roots, you call them ruba'i. If they have 3 roots, if they've got 3 letters, they're called thulathi. So this is a verb which is ruba'i. It's a quadriliteral root. Fesfesa. It's obviously root letters, fair seen, and it means to Facebook someone. Fesfese, yufesfisu is how it's used. And in Amiya, I think they call it, they say like ana befesfis. You know, you say ana befesfis. I am Facebooking. And the reason why I say I see opportunity from it is because obviously there are a lot of different social platforms now, and like I just dream of a day when we'll have a verb like sanabshata, like to Snapchat someone. I've just made that up. I've never heard that in my life, but perhaps sanabshata will become a verb in the future one day, or whatever else we have. You know, whatever other platforms we have. Like I don't know if there is a specific verb in Arabic to WhatsApp someone. You know, WhatsApper, or something like that. I don't know if those could become verbs in the future, but I think they're quite cool. You know, for words like that are kind of about an international concept, like Amazon or Facebook or Google or whatever. Those things when they manifest themselves in the Arabic script context, I think is just quite interesting. So verb number 2, fesfese, is one that I really like. Verb number 3, one that comes in at in third place, is the verb ta'arraba, which means to become an Arab or to become Arabized. Because there's a lot of people who speak Arabic these days who are actually not Arabs. A lot of people who we think of as being the Arab world, or countries that are in the Arab League of Nations, which are not even close to ethnically being, you know, historical Arabs. You know, so for example, like people from Egypt. You know, people from like the Egyptians aren't Arabs historically. You know, they're people who have become Arabized. You know, you'd say ta'arrabu al-Masriyun. You know, the Egyptians have become Arabized, and that is the case for the vast majority of people who we consider Arabs. And to be honest, the Arab League of Nations is a joke, really, for actual Arab identity. Like Somalia is a country, and Somalia is a country that I've got close ties to, and I'm married into a Somali family, and I know their language fairly well, and I know their culture fairly well, and the Somalis, they're not Arabs. You know, but for political reasons, the Arab League of Nations, they're considered an Arab country. A lot of people do speak Arabic in Somalia, but to be honest, most of the Somalis I've met who speak Arabic is actually because they came to the UK via an Arab country. Like a lot of the Somalis who I know speak Arabic, it's because before they came to the UK they went to Egypt, or before they came to the UK they went to Saudi, or something like that. But the verb ta'arraba, and it can also be used for an individual. You know, you could say, you know, ta'arrabtu. You know, I could say to someone, you know, أنا تعربت. تعلمت اللغة العربية في فلسطين وتعربت. You know, I learned Arabic in Palestine, and I became an Arab. Yeah, cool. I mean, the concept of who is an Arab, like I wrote essays at university on what it actually means to be an Arab, and all of it is quite boring, really. But you know, because it's all, so many people have become Arabized, and then some Arabs have sort of become de-Arabized and have become more Western and stuff like that. So all of this sort of identity nonsense is all, you know, is all up in the air, really. But regardless, we are left with this interesting verb. It is a form 5 verb, ta'arraba. That's the one that came in at rank number 3. In fourth place, we have the verb rafrafa. Rafrafa is also similar to fesfesa. It's a ruba'i verb, rafrafa. And rafrafa means to sort of ruffle or flap. But it can be used either for a bird's wings, or it can be used for a flag. Those are the two most common things that I've heard it used for. And it's used in the Palestinian national anthem, Yurafrifu. I can't remember the lyric. I'm going to look it up, actually, whilst I'm just talking through it. But I remember when I was in Palestine, one of the poems that we had to do, what's the name of the poet who wrote it? It might even have been Ghassan Kanafani who wrote it. He's a very famous Palestinian novelist. But I'm going to look it up, because the name of the Palestinian national anthem is Mawtani, and there's a song for it. Perhaps I'll recite it for you on this very podcast. Yeah, but we had to study it, and the verb rafrafa is in there. Maybe even if Mawtani Palestinian national anthem. Yeah, Palestinian national anthem. Yeah, we had to learn it, and our professors desperately wanted us to sort of read it out at our sort of leaving ceremony. So I have it in front of me. Oh no, it's by Ibrahim Tawqan. Of course it is. Yeah, Ibrahim Tawqan. He also has a sister called Fedwa. Fedwa. I've read one of her novels actually. She's like a women's rights activist, Fedwa Tawqan as well. But the Tawqan family are a famous family in the West Bank. Yeah. So I have it in front of me, but it doesn't look like this is where. Maybe it does begin here. Okay, so I'll read through it. I'll read it aloud until we get to the rafrafa. So it's called firubak. It begins with firubak. So والحياة والنجاة والنهاء والرجاء في هواك هل أراك سالما مناعما وغانما مكرما هل أراك في علاك تبلغ السماك تبلغ السماك موطني الشباب لن يكل همه أن تستقل أو يبيد نستقي من الردى ولن نكون للعداء كالعبيد لا نريد ذلنا مؤبدا وعيشنا منكدا لا نريد بل نعيد. It's quite far down. Okay, so we get عزنا like our greatness غاية تشرف وراية ترفرف. وراية ترفرف. It's in there as it's talking about the honor and the status of Palestine and its greatness. Turafrifu. It sort of flutters like the same way that like a bird flaps its wings. But perhaps we do like a whole walkthrough on my YouTube channel one day of that whole poem. Because we learnt it when we were in Palestine. I mean, I'm talking happened a few years ago. But anyway, so rafrafa is a verb that I really like, and I think it's sort of onomatopoeic as well, isn't it? It sounds like flapping. Rafrafa. Very nice. So let's come on to, where are we? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The fifth verb coming in at fifth place is the verb to bring out, which is akhraja. Akhraja, it's the form 4, but there is a form 1. The form 1, kharaja, means to leave or to go out. Akhraja means to bring someone else out or to bring something else out. Allah describes himself as وَالَّذِي أَخْرَجَ الْمَرْعَى. Allah is the one who brings out the plants or brings out the pasture or whatever. It's used a number of times in the Quran in different contexts as well. أخرج. There's a dua that I always make. It's not like a dua from the Sunnah that I know of, but it does play on things that are said in the Quran, like I like to say, Alhamdulillahi alladhi akhrajana min al-dhulumati ila an-nur. That talk about akhraja min al-dhulumati ila an-nur is used in the Quran a lot. So akhraja, to bring out, min al-dhulumat, from the darkness, ila an-nur, into light. Like Islam is what brings us out from the darkness into the light. And obviously someone myself who became a Muslim, like from a non-Muslim family and from a non-Muslim background and became a Muslim. That's when I first heard the Imam in whichever masjid it was I was praying in at the time recite these ayat about Allah taking us from darkness into light is it's just really beautiful. So that's one of my favorite words, one of my favorite verbs especially. So there's another context in which it can be used. There's one when Allah says in Surah Al-Anfal, وَإِذْ يَمْكُرُ بِكَ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا, like when the people who disbelieve, it's talking about a specific group of the people from Quraysh at the time who were trying to kill the Muslims at the time. Like when they plan against you, لِيُثْبِتُوكَ أَوْ يَقْتُلُوكَ أَوْ يُخْرِجُوكَ. So لِيُثْبِتُوكَ, to kind of tie you up or to hold you down. أَوْ يَقْتُلُوكَ, or they tried to kill you. أَوْ يُخْرِجُوكَ. So يُخْرِجُ is the plural of أخرج. Not the plural, sorry, the present tense, أخرج. It means to force you out. They force you out of your homes. Is يُخْرِجُ. They force you out. لِيُخْرِجُوكَ. They do it to force you out of your homes. That's sort of another use of it. A slightly darker use than what I'd mentioned a second ago. But Yeah, cool. So yeah, that was one that came at number 5. Number 6 even, sorry, is it's a quadrilateral verb. This is the third one of those. It's a rubai verb. It's not onomatopoeic this time, but it's just really funny. And also, like fesfesa, I think it opens modern opportunities for words. So the verb is the verb hatlara, which means to behave or to become like Hitler. Hatlara, and in the present tense, you hatliru. So if you say something like, he became like Hitler, you just say hatlara rajulu, that the man became like Hitler. And you can actually use it. Yuhatliru rajul. Yeah, the man is becoming like Hitler, or he is behaving like Hitler. And I just see like any name being able to become a verb. Like for someone to become like Trump. I don't know if the verb tarmaba, to become like Trump, could become a verb in the future, or perhaps if I start using it enough, perhaps I can influence people and it'll become a verb in Arabic. But yeah, so you can have that, and Obama, Obama could be to behave like Obama or something. You can have names that turn into their own rubai verbs in Arabic. I don't know if we can. The verb sama is already a verb. We can't have my name turn into a verb because it already is one. But there are a lot of names out there which we could end up turning into verbs, and they could become a verb in and of themselves. Next one. This is number 6 actually, isn't it? Gosh. We're at number 6 already. We've done 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, cool. We are doing okay. To become like Hitler was number 6, right? Yeah, it was. Now we're on number 7. Okay, number 7. This is the verb which means to use something. It's a form 10 verb, and it is ista'mala. A'mala means to do something. Ista'mala means to use something. And I like this verb, one, because it's a nice long form 10 verb. But I also like that the noun, the masdar of the verb isti'mal, means like a use for something. If you were to say like in its use, if you say something is is good in its use or something like that, it'd be like fi isti'maliha. I just think that sounds nice, fi isti'maliha, in its use. And also I like that the word isti'mal is also borrowed and is in Somali now. And the word isti'mal becomes the verb in Somali. So in Somali you add suffixes or suffixes on the end of words. There are some verbs in Somali have prefixes as well, but generally you conjugate verbs by putting things on the end. And like in Somali, to say like I am using something, wahan isti'malaya, you say isti'malaya, or I think it's probably Mr. Malaysa. If I say, are you using this, Mr. Malaysa? Or if we're saying we are using it, one isti'malayna. They just add these na or sa or a on the end to conjugate the verb isti'mal, and that's just something I like about it. I like about the word the verb ista'mala, that it's been borrowed into Somali as its noun. It's not been borrowed as its verb. Its noun has been taken and made into a whole new verb, especially for Somali, which I like. Verb number 8 we're on now. The verb is, I don't know why it's one of my favourites. It's the verb tazawwaja, which means to marry someone. It can mean two things though. It can mean to marry someone, as in me being the one getting married, or it can be, I can't remember which one's which, with transitive or intransitive. Transitive or intransitive, because I think a transitive verb is one that takes an object. So if I were to say I'll marry them, it doesn't mean that I'm the one who's going to get married to them. It means that I'll marry them to each other. Do you know what I mean? It can mean that. Like, I know there's a hadith, or at least I'm not sure what the source is for it, but there's a story. It's authenticity I'm not sure of, but the Messenger of Allah ﷺ went to a woman's house, and she was known to be of quite high status, like she was quite beautiful and from a good family and stuff. And the Prophet ﷺ said in Arabic, I want to marry you, using this verb tazawwaja. And I think like the family got excited that it was the Prophet ﷺ himself who wanted to marry her. but it was him saying, I want to get you married to someone. Like, I want to marry off you. Do you know what I mean? He had a suggestion for an individual who she should marry. And yeah, so it can be used in either of those two ways. And the reason why I like it is, firstly, tazawwaja, yatazawwaju, it's just a nice verb. It's a nice form 5 verb. It sounds nice, but also I just love marriage. Like, I just think marriage is just an amazing thing. Like, I've been married for about 3 years now, and over 3 years now, and I just love marriage. And I remember when I was like in the Arab world and stuff, and people would ask me, like, enta mutzawwij, like they said, like, are you married? I wasn't married when I was traveling in the Arab world then, but I knew that I wanted to get married. Like, to be honest, I wanted to get married from when I was about 18, I think, when I wanted to get married. But Allah didn't bring about a woman who'd have me until I was, 22. I was 21 when it was the day before my 22nd birthday, actually, when I was first introduced to her family. Yeah, so that's why it's just one of my favourite verbs. I like its use. I think it's quite versatile, and yeah. Anyways, got 2 verbs left. Only 2 verbs left in this little podcast. So, so the next verb, ista'mara. It's the verb ista'mara, which means to colonize. As long as I like colonialism, the term would be isti'mar. Isti'mar is the term colonialism. Al-isti'mar, you're talking about, colonialism. It's not because I like colonialism as a thing, but it's just because I think it's a word that, well, when I've been an examiner for the GCSE Arabic, if they drop that bomb, they're getting an A star. Or now they've changed it, they get a 9. Nowhere near as interesting as it to get a 9. I mean, who wants to open their results and see a 9? Let's have an A star, please. We haven't been indoctrinated by Hollywood films for us to open up our results and see a 9. The reason is because we want to see an A. We want to see A+++, please. I'm sure that on American TV they've always been doing that. But anyway, we have to look at 9s now, so they've changed it here in the UK. We don't get A, B, C anymore. We get 9, 8, 7. So yeah, but anyway, like when students drop istirmar, then they're getting a 9 if I'm marking it. Yeah, istarmara, istirmar. Yeah, it's just a verb, form 10 verb. Sounds nice, and it's it gets you high marks, and it's a word that people should be empowered with that vocabulary so they can criticize it. Next, the verb to contradict. The verb tanaqada, and if something is contradictory, then it is mutanaqid. Yeah. I remember once when I was at university, and our lecturer was asking us whether we are people who are more in our aql or more in our qalb. He was saying like aql or qalb, and he asked me, and one of my proudest moments was I made the point of saying laysa mutanaqidaini. The two are not contradictory. Or English would probably translate that into saying they're not mutually exclusive. Because when you say laysa, Laysa is from Kana and her sisters. I think we've actually done an episode on that. Let me check, actually. I think we have done an episode on Kana and her sisters, which is awesome, if that's the case. Kana and her sisters. Or maybe we've just done a lesson on sentences, and we actually didn't do one on Kana and her sisters. I'm not too sure. But either way, basically the rule is that the khabar of Kana and her sisters, or usually the adjective, the thing you're talking about, has to be a certain case. You can't say, if you're talking about two things, you would usually put ani on the end, but if it's two things in another case, then it's aini. So when you say laysa, you're saying two things are not. And then you can't say mutanaqidani, because that's the wrong case. You say mutanaqidaini because of laysa. Honestly, you don't need to understand all the bits and bobs in that 30 seconds. I'm just telling you that is a sentence that makes sense. Laysa mutanaqidaini. The two are not mutually exclusive. The two are not contradictory. Laysa mutanaqidaini. A good little one for you to have up your sleeve. A bit academic. So that's my last one. It's useful. It's good little debate terminology, and good for the GCSE and other kind of academic uses of Arabic. So that's everything for this episode. Sad, isn't it? Feels like it went really quickly. I've been pretty chilled out this episode. I'm just sitting here in my room with my feet up. Got a cup of tea in front of me. I need slurp. throughout the whole episode. So the rest of the content's coming out this week. We will be doing other verb stuff. I would like to do a live Q&A on Wednesday on Instagram and Facebook for verbs. If you have questions about verbs or conjugating verbs or how certain verbs behave, get in touch with me. Tune in on Wednesday or on probably Wednesday evening, maybe 5 o'clock UK time. I'd like to do a live Q&A. We'll get round to it, inshallah. But even if not, send me in your questions anyway, and I'll try my very best to get them answered. Even if you have questions about conjugating verbs or about hollow verbs or weak verbs or strong verbs or different forms of verbs or blah 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 verbs or whatever, then get in touch with me and I'll try my very best to help you, inshallah. So I'm getting all that out for you, even though I'm busy. I'm getting all of this out for you, even though I'm busy. At the moment, I'm moving house at the moment. I remember in the first episode, the introduction episode, I said that I'm in the process of moving house at the moment. So that's why I haven't got any guests on board yet. But I'm still in that process. I've left Cornwall now. I am moving to the Midlands, moving up north to me. I mean, anywhere sort of past Oxford is the north to me. Obviously being from Cornwall. I mean, I remember going to school with people who were like, "Oh, bloody hell, you're going up north, going up Bristol, going up bloody Bristol, up north." Yeah, so... Yeah, Bristol's in the south, by the way, for those of you who are not from the UK. Bristol is not in the north, it's the southwest. But, and people there are still farmers, like we are in Cornwall. But I'm moving to the Midlands. I have some guests lined up for us to do in future episodes, but there's going to be a little bit of time just for me to get settled and stuff with my wife and my son and get us all moved into one place. So I'm in that process at the moment. So please make dua for us. Keep us in your duas. May Allah bless all of you guys. May Allah keep you guys steadfast in your studying of the Arabic language. And next week is going to be on... We're doing some Quran next week. I've not really spent any week... The topic of any week hasn't been the Quran. So next week, the topic is going to be... we're going to do one ayah from the Quran. In next lesson, we're going to do like a whole analysis and a breakdown of an ayah from the Quran. It is an ayah from Suratul Qadr. And there's lots of grammar to unpick from it. It's only a few words, but there's lots of grammar and some really useful vocabulary to pick from it. So that's what we're going to be doing next Monday. That'll be episode 8. As I say, don't forget to go over to the website. I'll link it up in the show notes. To go to the website to get a free download that accompanies this podcast on my 10 favourite verbs and how to use them. I'll see you guys in the next episode. I hope you really, really enjoy your day. Thank you so much for listening to the podcast and being part of it. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.